A very good morning to everyone. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all on this virtual platform to the national webinar organized by Cayley Society's Science and Commerce College. We are thankful for such an overwhelming response from you all. People are still joining in through YouTube where we are streaming live. So once again, I extend a warm welcome to everyone present here. The theme of the webinar today is COVID-19 Opportunities and Challenges. The coronavirus pandemic is the defining health crisis of our time and the greatest challenge we have faced since World War II. Since its emergence in Asia late last year, the virus has spread to almost every continent. It is much more than a health crisis. It is creating devastating social, economic, and political crises that will leave deep scars for the future. But, as rightly said by Albert Einstein, in the midst of every crisis lies a great opportunity. No matter how serious and sad all of this is, there are upsides as well. Even this darkness has its own bright sides and opportunities. With this note, I would request our Honorable Principal, Dr. G.D. Giri, to say a few words on this occasion. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Today's eminent speaker, Sri Vinayak Deshpande sir, and all participants. I congratulate our Department of Management Studies to conduct this webinar on especially on the post-COVID challenges, opportunities and challenges. Yes, all we intellectuals, we have to start discussion on this particular issue, particular subject in these days. And I would like to highlight more about that is we have to link this COVID problem with Chinese aggression also. As on today, about 3 divisions of army, that is say 45 soldiers are deployed on China border. And this COVID is also a problem created by China. And it was said that in after Second World War, there will be the war, whichever will come, that will be the silent war. That will affect our economy. That will affect our well-established setup. That will affect our social aspects. And we as a intellectual community, we have to think in this particular line from the point of view of our own country and our Indian economy. Today, Sri Vinayak Deshpande sir, he is a very much expert in this particular field, especially in the field of economy. And sir will highlight you the different aspects. And I am sure that all of us will get enlightened on in this particular topic as on today's discussion. On behalf of Cayley Society and Chairman of our Cayley Society, Dr. Prabhakar Kore, Chairman of our governing body, Shri Mahantesh Kavadgimat sir, and all management members, as well as Cayley College of Science and Commerce, I welcome all of you and I wish all the best for today's webinar. Thank you very much. Over to Payal.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words. Now I would like to call upon Dr. Geeta Kohade ma'am, HOD BMS Department, to introduce our guest speaker for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pal Sanan. Here it's a proud moment for all that today we have with us an eminent personality, Dr. Vinayak Deshpande, a gold medalist, is the Vice Chancellor acting of RGM Nagpur University in Nagpur, who has achieved Dr. Parnikar Economic Award and Samajik Abhisaran Puraskar. As per education qualification, Sir has completed MA in Economics, MBA and PhD. Dr. Deshpande has a huge administrative and research experience. Sir has worked as Pro Vice Chancellor, RTM Nagpur University for 1 year, Head of the Department Business Management for 8 years, Assistant Director, Academic Staff College, RTM Nagpur University for 6 years. Registrar, Officiating and Dean, Additional Charge, RTM Nagpur University, Nagpur. Sir has more than 35 years of teaching experience, 65 research publications in national and international journals, 14 research publication edited books, 10 research projects completed on funding agencies, IFR, NABARD, Government of Maharashtra, Yashoda, UGC, etc. 30 candidates have been awarded PhD under his supervision. Thank you, sir, for being my PhD guide too. Sir has written many more reference books on macroeconomics analysis, Indian economy, and financial institutions and market. Sir is a member, Senate, Management Council, Academic Council, Board of Examination, Chairman Board of Studies, RTM Nagpur University, Nagpur. Dr. Deshpande is member of Regional Imbalance Committee, Maharashtra State, appointed by the Planning Board of Maharashtra, popularly known as Kelkar Committee. Sir is also a member of Regional Direct Tax Advisory Committee. He was associated with IGIDR for a project on suicide of farmers and submitted a report on resource mapping to the Maharashtra Economic Development Corporation. Dr. Deshpande has working with international bodies. Sir has President International Center for Cultural Studies. Dr. Deshpande has worked as ex-president All India Marathi Arthashastra Parishad, ex-president Vidarbha Economic Teachers Association,
Hello, Geeta ma'am. Sorry to interrupt. Hello.
Over to you, Deshpande, sir.
Morning, everybody. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Principal of KLE Societies Science and Commerce College, Dr. G.D. Giri, Dr. Geeta Kohade, Preeti, Payal, Neha, Dr. Jyoti, all the faculty members, great institute, governing council members, management council members, all the participants, those who are attending this webinar. At the outset, I must thank KLE Societies Science and Commerce College for giving me an opportunity to share some of the thoughts relating to COVID-19, opportunities and challenges. And I feel that the topic of discussion is very timely. In fact, Dr. G.D. Giri, he has made the introductory remarks and pointed out how we are facing not only COVID-19 problem, but problem at the border. So my humble tribute to our soldiers who have sacrificed their life. Really, it's a very, very critical situation, especially for India, because we are facing many problems at the same time. At least we can discuss the issues, try to understand what is actually happening in the economy and at the world level. And if possible, we can even think about certain suggestions also. With this objective, I have made some presentation and then I would make some comments. Let me tell you in the beginning, I'm highly impressed to see the infrastructure facilities in the college, highly impressed to see the progress made by the institute in various academic as well as in cultural activities. And I'm sure college would make progress in future. I wish all the best for further development. The topic which we are going to discuss, it has its relevance because as pointed out by Payal in the beginning, that though it is related to health issue, but it is now related to economic issues also. Can you see the slides, please? Can you see the slides? Okay. So what I feel that in this crisis situation, I always say we need two types of doctors. One is health doctor and other one is economics doctor. And both the doctors are equally important because we have experienced that after lockdown, what kind of problems occurred in the system, migration labor problem, unemployment problem, recession to some extent, falling demand, and therefore these problems also require to address at the right moment of time. And therefore I feel that students of business management, commerce, not only commerce and business management, but other streams, faculty members, students, they must try to understand the issues we are facing because ultimately we are the contributors in the society for the overall development of our economy. So coronavirus is first and foremost a human tragedy that we must try to understand. Millions of people they have been infected and hundreds of thousands of people have died worldwide. And therefore, eventually, we find that many countries decided to shut down, to stop the economic activities, and therefore, economies are shuttering and people are suffering. And eventually, we are slowly going to return to something that I won't say that it would be a normalized kind of situation, but it would look like normal. And that's why I said something that resembles normal. That is what we are trying to do. So, as I said, economy and health both are equally important. And even today, we have the shadow of Corona. And therefore, in this shadow of Corona, we have to prioritize certain things. Our priorities are to be decided now. And therefore, we have to find out, is it time for India to accelerate its development in various sectors? We still do not know enough about virus scientifically. Not many researches are going on in different parts of the world also. So there are many unanswered questions yet, and our scientists throughout the world they are trying to provide these answers. But yet we have not arrived at any specific solutions to the problem. Is there a generic resistance to a virus? And do you optimize health and sacrifice economy? What to prioritize? Should we give priority to our health or should we give priority to our economy? And therefore, we decided to have lockdown, which has affected the economy. Probably to some extent, we could tackle health. So there are two moot questions which we have to address. How much priority to be given to health? How much priority is to be given to economy? So do you optimize economy and sacrifice health, or do you optimize health and sacrifice economy? And therefore, the greatest challenge to my mind is how do you draw a balance between economy and health? And the solution to this challenge is not that easy. And therefore, we have to understand first the problem, and then we may try to analyze how to provide the solution to the issues which we are facing. But this pandemic, it is actually the reminder for interconnectedness. That is how we can look at this pandemic. So it has reminded us the lesson that when one member of the family falls sick, entire family is affected, the nation is affected. Not only the nation, other communities in other nations, it also gets affected. So that shows that how close we all are, not only in the country itself, but even outside economies. And therefore, what we do has repercussions on all life on earth. That the kind of lesson which we have learned out of this pandemic. And therefore, as I said, it is this anubandha, that is interconnectedness, that sustains all life on earth. And probably how we are interconnected, we never realized. But this pandemic has taught us that lesson, that we all are one, we all are interconnected. Any wrong thing which we do at any place in the whole world, it has repercussions throughout. And that is what this pandemic has shown us. Of course, why people are worried and why so much discussion is going on relating to this particular crisis, because this crisis is altogether different than the crisis which we faced earlier. Every country, every economy, from time to time, they suffered because of some financial crisis, because of certain health issues. But this particular crisis is unique. This is something where there is abrupt and sudden stop, and therefore there was hardly any time in order to revive the economy. Many a times we have experienced that whenever there was war, economy got recovered after certain period of time, because in war certain countries got affected, some other countries started helping those economies, and therefore economy recovered. That is the experience of the earlier period of time. But here you find that the situation is altogether different. And therefore, one common thing which we observed, that economists, they have displayed both strengths and weaknesses of the profession. But at the same time, 99% agreement that there is a need to have the government, and government had to be involved, and it could not be just the central bank which can solve the problem relating to finance. So role of government as well as central bank, how they are relevant and important, that also this crisis has shown. I would say that this is worst crisis than even the financial crisis of 2008. Normally people believe that when economy gets affected, you find that it affects all kinds of people. But here one thinking is again going on, that economic impact is more on young people, and they are the ones who are more suffering, and health impact is on old people. This is also the another kind of thinking which people they make, that economic impact you find on young because they are losing their jobs, and health impact is on old people. I think that also needs to be analyzed, that needs to be seen, and researches are going on relating to this aspect also. What are the threats and opportunities? Economic activity is hard when there is sickness and death, and therefore you find that situation is becoming very, very complicated. Western Europe, it is expected that it will go down by 6%. USA is expected to go down by 2.8%. China is striving hard to have the 1% rate of growth, and India is, of course, moving slightly ahead, that is to the extent of 2.1%. But I would say lot depends on the measures and their implementation. As you know that our finance minister, she has announced package of 200 200 lakh crores. How far it will be implemented in the best possible manner, depending on that, we would experience that how we can make the progress in the Indian economy. Slowly we started unlocking the system, and after almost 83 days of lockdown, India opens up and we started functioning from 1st June 2020. Maharashtra lockdown is still continued and it will be continued till June 30th with plans of graded openings. And that is what we will experience in our state. So all markets, market areas, shop, except malls and market complexes from June 5th, they started functioning, but on odd and even basis. That is how every district, every talukas, every place of the state, it started functioning in this manner. Of course, world economy as a whole, it would be absolutely different than what we were experiencing till now. What likely changes are going to take place? Supply chain, it would be more local, because you find that slowly people are reluctant to buy the commodities which are available in the international market because of some kind of fear, and therefore everybody is talking about how the local products are important, and probably local products and local goods, they will get the importance in the coming period of time. Trade in services, it is going to change absolutely. Interest rates, as we are experiencing, it is falling. It has repercussions on both savers as well as investors. Unfortunately, inequalities will grow up between rich and poor countries, and these inequalities will not only related to different countries of the world, but inequalities will increase within the country also, and probably we would experience a different kind of system where snatching of assets, snatching of money, that kind of things may happen because of growing inequalities, and that is the biggest challenge I feel. So big structural changes are going to take place, and it will take time to take growth in economic activities. It is not so easy, and you can't expect that immediately economy will revive. So there is global economic fallout. So we expect that there should be steady flow of money, goods, services, and of course people. To make them flow is essential to help the economy. But recession is inevitable, and then we are expecting that what kind of recovery it will have. Whether the recovery will take V shape. V shape means falling economy and then immediately it is recovered. That won't take place in this manner. U shape means it will take some time. It will be at the bottom level at certain places, and then it will start recovering, and probably it will have L shape where recovery will not be possible. At least we would be able to stop the falling kind of economy, and therefore it could take L shape also. So many people, they are talking about V shape, U shape, and L shape recovery. At least we can expect that in India there would be U shape recovery, and we would be able to catch up as soon as possible. How to find out that there is a damage? So there is pre-crisis growth trend and actual growth. So when we try to compare the old and new path, the difference between two would represent how much damage economy caused due to the pandemic. And therefore, what are the sectors which are affected most? If you see the overall data, then you find that government revenue has affected a lot because people are sitting at home, they were not moving, and therefore there was no demand for petrol, petroleum vehicles, there was no demand for oil and oil products, and therefore overall you find that revenue of the government, it's reduced at a very, very sharp rate. Of course, as we always talk about micro, small, and medium enterprises, they play a very important role in the system. So MSME sector has affected very, very badly, and total number of MSME units, they are about 7 to 8 crores. The problem which we saw relating to migrated workers, very critical problem, that number is 15 crores, not very small, and therefore hardest hit in the whole process is these 15 crores workers, and therefore lot of discussion took place relating to this particular class of the society. Revenue of the government reduced normally if you see the budget, earning of the government is to the extent of 20 lakh crores. And in this particular period, fall in the revenue is more than 5 lakh crores. So one can imagine, if you continue this process of falling revenue of the government, how much sacrifice government will have to make in terms of revenue. So if there are no economic activities, obviously government will not be able to earn any amount of money also. Now let us look at the problem that when you talk about revival of the economy, how much economy is to be revived? Means out of the total sectors, what are the sectors which are functioning and which are just standstill? Broadly, you can say that 20% is the contribution of defense, health, communication, mining, electricity, water supply, cable TV, etc. So we can say that 20% of the economy is functioning. This is one aspect of the economy. Agriculture sector is also functioning to the extent of 15 to 20%. So roughly you can say 35% of the economy is operating, whereas 65% of the economy is just standstill. And therefore, when we talk about revival of the economy and the policies relating to this, we have to revive this 65% of the economy, and that is the biggest challenge. Indian economy otherwise was also slowing down. Normal growth we find is about 7% to 8%, but in October November quarter it reduced to 4% to 5%. And normally our economy is of 200 lakh crores, that is $2.5 trillion. Why I'm saying so? Because our dream is to achieve $5 trillion economy. Presently, our economy is $2.5 trillion. What needs to be done in order to reach that $5 trillion economy? And with this kind of pandemic, there is going to be the very, very big challenge to achieve that $5 trillion economy. So harsh economic consequence, as I said, 65 to 70% of the economy is coming to halt. And therefore, there, there is an expectation that survival package is for workers and revival package for MSME. And with that intention, you find that the package is announced. A lot of changes government brought in the whole process. And the most fundamental thing, to my mind, is change in the definition of MSME. And this is effective from 1st June of 2020. So the criteria for classification of micro, small and medium enterprises has been changed. And you can remember that micro enterprises is that enterprises where the investment is of not exceeding 1 crore rupee and turnover does not exceed 5 crore rupees. So it is expected broadly that 1 crore investment will lead to 5 crore rupees turnover. And this, with this expectation, micro enterprise is now redefined, and all the micro enterprises, they are entitled to derive the benefit if they fall in this particular criteria of 1 crore rupee investment with 5 crore rupees turnover. Of course, there is a change along with the micro enterprise, change in the definition of small enterprises also, where the investment in plant and machinery, it does not exceed 50 50 crores of rupees is turnover, and 10 crores of rupees in investment. Same logic, that 10 crores will generate 50 crores, means 10 crores of investment, 5 times you will have turnover. That is the calculations made, and that's why the turnover part is also included in the definition now of MSME. Medium enterprise, where the investment in plant and machinery does not exceed 50 crores. This definition is changed after Nirmala Sitharaman made an announcement of the definition, because medium enterprises, they demanded that their limit should go up, and therefore now it is 50 crore rupees and turnover does not exceed 250 crores rupees. You can go on multiplying by 5 in order to find out the turnover, and that is the kind of logic applied in order to define the MSME. What stimulus package is announced, and how what change we can expect because of this stimulus package. Package, as I said, 20 lakh crore, roughly per capita comes to about 20,000, and for family of 5 members, we can say that one family would get 1 lakh rupees. Liquidity support by RBI, which is a part of 20 lakh crores of rupees, is 8 lakh crore. This is not the separate package, it's a part of 20 lakh crore package. So if it is not utilized, so it is expected that RBI will provide this liquidity to commercial banks. People will approach commercial banks. Small and medium enterprises will approach commercial banks to take out loans. And if they take loans and utilize it, you will find that economy will start reviving. But if it is not utilized by small scale industries, it will go back to RBI. And therefore, effect on business, effect on gross domestic product, you will find only after taking loan by these people. And for this, the arrangement is made by the government, that is of 3 lakh crores for small industries, and government is going to take the guarantee. Of course, there are a number of critical issues involved in this stimulus package, because this amount would be made available to those small and medium enterprises who have already borrowed money, and therefore only 45 lakh enterprises would be benefited with the help of 3 lakh crores collateral free automatic loan. As I said in the beginning, total number of enterprises 7 to 8 crores. This stimulus package would be benefited first instance 45 lakh enterprises. Probably we can expect that some more package would come for those who won't be able to derive this benefit. We can expect that there would be possibility of some operational issue, and that operational issue could be related to how to identify these 45 lakh enterprises. Of course, there are some criteria given in the package, but still, as we are experiencing all the time, there are going to be some operational issues. Many a times it is said that crisis is always is an opportunity, and therefore we talk about challenges and opportunities simultaneously. Because our experience is, whenever we face crisis, we make reforms, and out of that reforms we get something good. And therefore I said that crisis is an opportunity, and normally you find nobody, even individual, India in general does not reform except there is crisis. और जब तक अपने को ऐसा कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आता है, तब हम शायद हमारे में बदल करने का हम सोचते भी नहीं है. And therefore that crisis is considered as opportunity. Atmanirbhar Bharat, the kind of concept introduced by our Honorable Prime Minister, it's a combination of different alternatives, and where we are trying to keep our product, our intermediate products manufactured in India, used by India, value addition by India, and as far as possible, our dependence on other countries should be minimized. With that intention, Atmanirbhar Bharat concept is introduced. Education, as we all know, we are facing lot many problems in this sector also, because I feel this is the most vulnerable sector. Why it is vulnerable? Because we hardly face any kind of problem. We hardly face any kind of crisis. So I say this is once in the lifetime event and once in century event, we can say. Something we never faced earlier, and therefore we feel that this is more problematic. And therefore sectors of the economy that are most vulnerable are going to be disrupted the most. And education is one of the most vulnerable sectors. So those have not had much disruption for the last 50 or 100 years. That was healthcare and higher education sector. And unfortunately, this sector is also suffering, because it has a link with entrepreneurship movement. It has a link with the job market, so many other things. So what changes we are expecting and already happening in the education sector? One is rise of online education. We all are experiencing, we are conducting classes online. We have started conducting classes online, and therefore changes in what kind of education would be offered in the next decade, that also needs to be seen. So demand for certain disciplines is going to decline, and probably other disciplines is going to increase. You can expect that health related issues, health related courses, nutrition related courses, probably that courses will be popular in the coming days. Very important for every universities to be flexible, because some kind of rigidity has already entered in the university system, and therefore to make changes in our existing course, it takes a lot of time. Board of studies and so many kinds of instruments we have, and therefore we require that kind of adaptability and the way we are deploying the resources. And unless we have that kind of flexibility, probably we won't be able to face this kind of challenge. So education sector, when we talk about, so we have to have creative content, and that creative content will create learning experience of technical supported lectures, best faculty and industry professionals. Fortunately, other side of the story, opportunity, we can say that it would have been difficult to organize such kind of conference, but now we are in a position to organize because of this kind of mode which we have, and that is how the changes are taking place. Delivery probably would be more sharper. Technology would augment lectures, increase peer-to-peer learning, outright manual grading, and therefore learning experience would altogether be different. So, as always, I say that now it is the responsibility of the students also. When we talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, Atmanirbharta is for students also, because they would be listening to the lectures by sitting at home. Whether they are listening carefully or not, that also is going to be the challenge. So we have created opportunity to learn, but it can become challenge if they don't take it seriously. And therefore, that learning experience may require counselors to assist each student individually. Other problems are also there. Online challenges problem. What will happen if we go online, where we don't have students on campus or fewer students on campus? This is the challenge. So it's an awful time in the world, but it's a really interesting time in education. We have never had a moment like this one, and where everyone at the same time has jumped into this technology. Everywhere you find that online courses or webinars, conferences, every day they are going on. It's a very good thing. So we are exchanging our ideas through this kind of mechanism. So how the pandemic is rewriting our future. So ability to teach through the technology is really, really powerful. So things that had been hard in the past, like bringing guest speakers, that was itself the challenge. How to catch those guest speakers, ability to tie those together. Now it becomes easy as we are experiencing. So can remote learning bridge the socio-economic divide? I think that is again the challenge. And that socio-economic divide is in terms of the availability of internet facilities for all. And therefore, the most important challenge would be how to shrink this digital divide. Rural areas, those who are not having these facilities, urban areas having these facilities, students, poor students may not be having these facilities, and therefore how to have the shrinking in the distances, that itself is going to be the challenge. And for that we expect that policymakers, government would come forward in order to reduce this digital divide. So there are different kind of education. So we are in a situation when fundamentally in education everything is changing. So there is new ways for us to collaborate and communicate. Probably our own college may have to communicate with some other college, those who are not having these kinds of facilities. All colleges are not succeeded in developing the infrastructure the way this college has developed. And therefore, there is a possibility of collaboration of the colleges. And the as I said, that this is altogether different, because there could be natural disaster, there could be strike of the student, but it has never happened in this magnitude globally. And everybody is talking about this problem, and this is the most common problem which every education institute is facing. So fraction of students will have a device and will have bandwidth and connectivity that is needed, which is relatively small, and therefore you have to find out that how to bridge this gap. Post-COVID economy, as our principal sir talked in the beginning. So no conventional prescription would work. This is quite certain. Like many a times, the solutions we derive on the basis of past. But unfortunately, we don't have any conventional prescription to handle this situation. GDP growth, as I said, 1.5 to 2%. With stimulus package, it may go up to 2 to 5%. Another important sector along with education is travel and tourism. Worst hit, because conferences, events, they are affected. Hospitality industry would suffer. Business of aviation, it is suffered, and this earlier it suffered 9/11, and this is after 9/11. This is the time when again aviation sector is suffering because of the crisis. New changes would take place in retail trade, as I said, and we can expect that there would be some kind of innovation. So throughout history, what we observe that events such as economic recession and pandemic have changed the trajectory of governments, economies, and business. An economic hit from the virus, it will be felt for a long time to come, and therefore we have to find out some kind of innovation. As I always say, Alibaba and all these kinds of companies, they in fact develop during the crisis only. So digital action for entrepreneurs in the age of COVID-19, and the key learning from Alibaba that we can find out in the current situation, how he has developed that mechanism during the crisis. So while it is important to focus on getting out of the health risk posed by the outbreak, you need to keep your eyes on what lies ahead after this pandemic. And therefore, this global pandemic will shape business for decades to come. For example, Uber and Ola, it is out of crisis only, because crisis forced people to share assets in the form of spare rooms and cars rides in order to cover for the deficit. And that is how these kinds of modern way of communication, modern way of transportation, it got evolved. SARS pandemic, that also created some different kind of environment, and most of the small companies, they started making progress, like Alibaba, as I said, and helped establish at the forefront of retail in Asia. And therefore we can say again opportunity out of these challenges, that there is a scope for entrepreneurship. Only thing is that there is a need to strengthen digital marketing, investment and consultancy in stock market, that is another area. And if you see the stock exchange and the prices of shares, you would find that IT sectors prices are rising, pharmaceutical industries prices are rising. These two are the major share, and along with chemical industries. And that is how we have to analyze that where is the scope now. Online education, we can promote, and some can start and innovate this online education system as we are experiencing today. So e-commerce, Alibaba developed during SARS outbreak, and of course there is going to be the threat to food security. So agriculture sector is going to be the problem, in a sense that because transportation arrangement has weakened, so it would be difficult to make the transportation, and gig economy which we talk about, that it will not be the kind of what we used to talk about the employment. So employment, we have to understand, is different from job. There would be jobs, but there would be no employment. Jobs, in a sense, you complete a particular task, come out of it. Contractual kind of appointment, that probably would be the situation in the coming days. And therefore, we have to understand that this is in the near future, we may not be talking about employment market, but it's a job market. And job market means you need not remain in a particular place at a longer period of time. You come out once the job is over. So consumption pattern also is going to change. There would be rise in demand for health and wellness product, especially nutrition profile product. And as I heard that Gujarat is quite popular for khakra, and they have introduced Corona khakra also. And that is how you find the products which are having nutrition profile, it will be more popular. Suraksha stores would be gaining importance, and as our honorable prime minister said, vocal for local. So distance, safety, hygiene, and therefore we can expect that our kirana stores, old kirana stores, retail trade, it would continue to stay, and possibilities of collaboration. And this retail trading, which was traditional retail trading, if they bring this kind of suraksha, probably kirana stores will be more popular. And of course, e-commerce, it continues to be important. Entertainment business of watching film and filmmaking. Let me tell you that this is also one of the very, very important sectors for the government, because it is contributing 60% of total revenue, almost 15,000 crores roughly in a year. And therefore, this industry has suffered a loss, because these cinema halls, last one to open and first one to close. And therefore what is happening, that there is no confidence, and because of lack of confidence, people are not going to the cinema theaters. Probably this situation would continue for a certain period of time, and therefore, basically, we are not socially designed in that manner, and we are not created to stay at home. We feel like going out, we feel like meeting friends, we feel like watching movies, but whole economics of watching cinema will change, because if there are 100 seats in hall, two-thirds will be in operation, because you have to leave certain seats in between in order to have the social distancing, and therefore number of shows will be reduced. If number of shows get reduced, then probably economics of watching cinema will change. The best solution probably we can think about, and we have to think that, can you go for now real decentralization, where the migratory problem of the laborers we could face, and if there would have been the development in the other parts of the countries, probably this kind of problem would not have occurred. And therefore, we have to think about how to go for decentralization. And therefore, I say we have to distribute opportunities than distribute output. And this is again the challenge. We have to see how we can give the opportunities to the people. Distributing output will not solve the problem in the longer run period of time. And therefore, we expect that there will be distribution of opportunities. Social harmony, it's a public good, and therefore we have to create capabilities, and we are facing basically double shock, and that double shock is in terms of what we can say. On one hand, there is a demand shock, and on the other hand, there is a supply shock also, and both the shocks, they are creating problem for the Indian economy. And as I said, that we can expect that because of this kind of too much inequalities, crime rate may go up, there would be stress to some level, domestic violence may take place, and therefore we have to bother that health of economy and health of people both are equally important. And therefore I said that killing economy is like killing people, and therefore you cannot say that whether economy to be prioritized or health to be prioritized. How to prioritize both, that itself is going to be the challenge. Auto sector, global supply chain, you need 100% parts, and many times when we say that we will stop import certain products, but let me tell you, I won't go in detail because I'm watching the time also, so hardly 2-3 minutes are now left. So I'll try to cover in a fastest possible manner, and then certain issues can be covered during our discussion. So people may be reluctant to go in shared vehicles, so we can expect that people may start buying their own vehicles, and auto sector may get some demand. But of course, many small businesses, city shop functioning, auto repair, shoe polish walas, they are all suffering during this pandemic. And therefore, Corona, it continues to make headlines. And it is not just about how to control spread of virus. It is also about addressing public perception, how to develop confidence amongst them, and how to change their attitude. And therefore, there is now profound confidence problem apart from other problems. And probably many times we don't bother to this problem of attitude, confidence, and psychological problem. And therefore, extremely costly to keep people at home, costly to keep these lockdowns, and therefore, how to revive the economy itself is a challenge. Lot of efforts government is making, but I would say that there is emotional contingent also. So phenomena, when we are catching emotions from one another, it is almost like a virus, and therefore spreading of rumors creates a lot of problem. And we have to bother about this issue, and we should not encourage such kind of rumors. So fear and panic could be even more dangerous than virus itself. And therefore we need connection when things are going badly. We always feel like meeting people, going close to the people, and it comes instinctively, and we want to come together instinctively. And therefore, when this kind of pandemic occurs, there is always isolation. But all of us, we must understand that isolation does not necessarily translate to loneliness. People should not feel lonely, and that is how we can create confidence. Otherwise, there would be a different kind of problem which society would be facing. Last point, That is how the emotions and economy also are interlinked. So positive mood leads to better decision making. That is what management principle tells us. And therefore, how to have the positive mood amongst the common man, among the common people is the challenge. How to face, how to cope up with this challenge. Hope, compassion, affection, caring, tenderness. I feel these are very, very powerful instruments. And you need to make sure that you don't fall in loneliness. So policy makers, you can't expect everything from the policy makers. These problems relating to loneliness, psychological problems, policy makers, they cannot provide the solution for this. So as I said, policy makers supposed to find solutions and not solace. And solace is what we do in our mind. And this solace is the most essential aspect of this particular crisis, of this particular pandemic. So I must say that there is light at the end of the tunnel and there is hope. And I'm sure that we would be able to come out of this problem. Whatever the challenges we have, we will try to convert it in the opportunities. Whatever assigned to us, it's our duty that we should perform it in the best possible manner. Directly or indirectly, it contributes for the success and development of the economy. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patient listening. I don't know, probably I have crossed some allotted time, but I must thank KLE Societies, Science and Commerce College, Dr. Geeta, all her colleagues, faculty members, governing council members, Dr. G.D. Giri, principal of the college, for giving me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It was really very interesting and very informative session. Now we will move to question answer session. To begin with the
Yeah.
question answer session, the first question is from a student called Pramila. With the help of Atmanirbhar plan of your economy, can we recover within 1 year? I
See,
repeat the question.
yeah, I got it. I got it.
Yeah,
Atmanirbhar
okay.
plan is a part of the total package announced by the government, as I said. Atmanirbhar, basically, we can say it's a self-reliance. And self-reliance basically means that our dependence on the outside countries, it should be minimized. How far it would be possible, that itself is a challenge. Self-reliance is the kind of terminology which we have been using since long. For success of the Atmanirbharta, what is required is how we can have our own intermediaries, our own inputs. Let me tell you, pharmaceutical industry in India is very strong, but 60% of the inputs still come from China market. Chemicals which are required to manufacture these pharmaceutical drugs, we are importing from China. Atmanirbhar Bharat is expected that this kind of imports which we are making, if we are succeeded in controlling it, then probably our dependence on other economies would be reduced and slowly we will become Atmanirbhar. But it's a challenge. And this Atmanirbharta will give us some kind of self-confidence. That self-confidence to be built up. With that intention, the package is termed as Atmanirbhar package. But it would not be difficult, I would say, but it is going to be the challenging task, because if it is available at the lowest possible cost, then people are going to buy, traders are going to buy. Even your electronic equipment, it becomes difficult to find out from where it comes. And therefore, every individual has to be made aware that how to become Atmanirbhar, how to perform the task on its own without depending on others. How long it will take, that all depends on how fast we can become competitive. And competitiveness not only depending on stopping the imports and becoming Atmanirbhar, but that competitiveness depends on so many factors. How the environment, business environment, entrepreneurship, that kind of environment, whether it is conducive to develop or not, then only you can become competitive and will be able to capture what people are saying, that Chinese market is going to reduce, it will fall down, and India should take that space. For taking that space, we need to be competitive. And that is how the Atmanirbhar Bharat concept is introduced to make people confident.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now we'll move to next question. Our next question is from one of the student named Anuj. What are the challenges and opportunities do we get in management sector with special reference to event management companies?
See, Anuj, now there is a drastic change in the whole event management concept also. So, as I said, that reforms will take place not only at the overall economy or country level, but reforms will take place at the sectoral levels also. As we are having this kind of event, this event requires management, and that is how many technicians they are involved today in order to have the proper planning for this kind of session. And this is the change which you find in the event management. Normally we used to talk about that some kind of marriage ceremony for which people are involved in event management, that would take time now to revive. Now, with changing circumstances, with changing situation, we have to identify what kind of events are becoming more and more popular, how they are becoming more popular. And let me tell you, still people are not aware about the kind of technology which is required in order to have the e-marketing, e-trading, or even e-conference, e-seminars. For this, management students, they can come up with some ideas, even for conducting your lectures, online lectures. It's a very useful concept, but still, let me tell you, many people, they are not well aware, they are not well trained, and there is a lack of skill as far as this particular aspect is concerned. See, talking students physically when all are present, teachers, they always feel happy, they are motivated when somebody is there to listen to you and when you can see their reaction. Here in online, you cannot see anybody's reaction, you don't know whether they are listening to you or not, but still you have to make your whatever the lectures you are delivering, you have to find out that how you can make it interesting, and that itself is going to be the challenge. Management students, they can think about this, develop certain kind of techniques relating to this, and there is a scope for this kind of challenge also. E-marketing is going to be very popular kind of concept. Management students need not get involved themselves in e-marketing, but they would be able to provide some kind of technology, some kind of creative ideas in order to see that how they can be made more effective. Even e-learning platform, how it can be made more effective, that job can be undertaken by the students of management.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Our next question is from another student named Sunanda. Is there any provision made by universities? Nutrition related courses must be added in our syllabus of BSc.
Absolutely right. Actually, in many universities, they have this kind of courses, but these courses now, they are to be updated with the kind of problem we are facing. Like Ran Meva, we have recently organized in our university. Ran Meva, we tried to project that how the vegetables which are available at the local level, how they can be popularized and how the marketing facilities can be made available to the local vegetable growers. And that is the kind of concept which is introduced by the nutrition department, home science department. So these kind of changes are going to take place, and we have to popularize these courses also. And as I said, how to popularize local product itself is a challenge. many people, they are not aware. Even the local people are not aware what is available at the local level, because marketing of the commodities from the outside places, they are so strong that we are forgetting what is available at the local level. And therefore, in the changing circumstances in relation with Atmanirbharta, what needs to be seen is how to popularize our local products, nutritional products. And they are having nutrition value, but unfortunately, we are forgetting that aspect of the economy. And therefore, the job of our universities, our various teaching departments is to find out what courses need to be popularized. And that depends, as I said in the beginning, that you must have the flexibility in that kind of introduction of those courses for the different kinds of faculties. Okay.
Right, right. Thank you, sir. Now we'll move to next question. Our next question is from one of the student called Ehsan. He says that is economy more important than human resource? Why lockdown is open?
Right. Now, as I said in the beginning, that ultimately economy is for whom? There is no binary like this. Like you cannot say that economy should not be given priority, but health should be given priority. What we have experienced in this lockdown, and lockdown slowly got opened, the reason being that when you are having lockdown, people are not in a position to earn their basic income, basic livelihood. And if they fail to have the livelihood, then probably they won't be able to survive because of lack of income and because of poverty. And therefore, as I said in the beginning, that this itself is a challenge, that what is to prioritize. And there is no question of priority, I would say. You cannot have the priority for health and then next priority is for economy. I would say both are equally important. And health and economy must go together. And that unless we think about this balancing, probably if we are trying to survive the people from the pandemic, then we may not be able to survive the people from the economic uncertainties which they are facing, and that may create some other kinds of problem. And therefore both are equally important. And that is why I said that this is the basic challenge, and in the beginning only I showed that slide, that prioritizing economy or prioritizing health. And that's why I said both are equally important. You cannot say that health doctors, health sector, that should be given priority and money should be spent on that particular sector itself. But unless earning part, if it is neglected, then you may have some other problem. As we are experiencing and we are reading in the newspaper that how the people are frustrated and how the family problems they are cropping up. So these are the issues which need to be addressed. So both are equally important, health as well as economy. We cannot think that this is more important and that is more important. That's why beginning we have experienced lockdown, but then it is realized that this cannot be continued, because survival of the people is also equally important by providing them the livelihood. And that's why slowly we started removing the kind of restrictions which we imposed for the lockdown.
Right,
Okay.
sir. Our next, yes, sir, right, sir. Our next question is by Noshin. She want to ask that the tech-supported lectures are affecting rural section. How do you think this digitalization will be resolved?
Mhm.
This digitalization will be resolved in rural areas.
Mhm. See, I think that is also a very important thing to understand. Like people are saying e-marketing, e-learning, and that is always the challenge. And we always say that rural areas, they don't have this kind of facility or some other kinds of things which urban areas having. And therefore, I could not explain in detail. But when I talked about decentralization, that basically means the idea of Abdul Kalam ji, who talked about Pura, Pura is providing urban amenities to rural areas. And if we provide urban amenities to rural areas, then this divide between rural and urban, it can be minimized. And therefore, this COVID pandemic has taught a very important lesson that whatever the opportunities you are having in urban areas, that need to be shared in the rural areas also. Therefore, the technology which is available in urban areas may create another kind of divide. And therefore, I said in the beginning that this digital divide itself is going to be the challenge, and it will create further inequalities in the societies. And therefore, government, especially local government and even Panchayati Raj at the local level, they will have to play very, very important role in order to provide those facilities to the rural areas. 73rd and 74th Amendment made by Indian government, especially for decentralization. Unfortunately, this 73rd and 74th Amendment, it didn't popularize the way it should have been. And later on, Pura, that is the concept brought by Abdul Kalamji, I think that is the most important aspect of the whole economy. Unless rural economy develops in a manner urban economy is developing, or at least the basic infrastructure in terms of digitalization, you cannot expect that there would be some kind of cooperation between the rural and urban areas. Why we are facing this problem, that migrated laborers, they started moving on foot, some of them started moving on bicycles. Basically, they don't have the adequate amount of income earning sources in their own areas. And unless that areas are developed, you cannot have the stoppage of the movement of people from one state to another state. How many Mumbais you can create? Like you have now New Mumbai. There could be new Mumbai. How many Mumbais you can go on creating like this? And therefore, I said that this decentralization and having the digital platform available to the rural people, that would help to solve the problem. Tech supported lectures, because we are habituated with it, and traditionally we are doing it, but that has some limitation. That is what we are now experiencing. And therefore these test supported lectures, but of course I think I should say one thing, that there has to be proper blending between e-learning and your regular teaching, because I am not of the opinion that everything now should be digitalized, and students should make use and teachers should make use of e-learning platform. Some of the topics you cannot explain in a better manner unless you make use of chalkboard and the duster. That traditional medium is still very, very powerful. But at the same time, we should not be shied away from the digital platform. That is also equally important. And therefore, the challenge is how to have the blending between these two methods of teaching. And that is what we are trying to now adapt in our education system.
So one more question. We
Thank
have
you.
received one more question by Wasim. He want to know that, sir, can we add more details of genetics in our life science syllabus to know more and more about virus?
Of course, actually, that should be the now major concern for the people working in that particular area, because this pandemic has shown that really we were not knowing many things in spite of the fact that so much amount of modernization and technological development took place. But still, we were not capable enough to handle this kind of situation. We cannot blame anybody, but time has come to think about that this situation can crop up at any moment, and therefore we have to find out how to anticipate, how to of course I didn't take that issue, but animal and individuals, there is also a link between the two, and therefore that also needs to be understood, that how the problem of coronavirus, it started occurring because of the relationship which we talk about between the human and the animal. And therefore, I say that this is biological storm. So just like you have climate change is natural occurring phenomena like storms and fires, this is the kind of storm which we are facing. So my feeling is we are messing with animals in ways we should not be, and we are getting more and more of these kind of biological storms entering the human population like the coronavirus pandemic. And therefore that relationship, I think, is very important. Many a times people say that wildlife returns as humans stay indoor, and many people are sharing their stories that animals now you can see on the street, and animals are conquering empty streets, and global shutdown has positive effect on environment, where wild animals the world over, they are getting more bold than ever. But one has to understand that with the modern technology, if people started sitting at home, and if you expect that animals are moving on street, that's a good thing. That may create some other problem. And therefore we have to see that how this relationship also needs to be understood, that is relating to ecology and pandemic. And therefore it's good that you have asked this question, but we have to understand that whenever there is increasing in droughts, storm that affect the food ability animals, and that's why you find that animals are moving in the urban areas. So that relationship needs to be understood again. And last point I would say relating to this, that some studies have pointed out even zoo animals, they are confused because of lack of visitors during the lockdown, because they are also getting entertainment when people visit zoos, and now people have stopped visiting zoo, so they are also facing the problem. So that part also needs to be understood. That relationship, I think, every one of us try to find out that there is a relationship between the human and the animal, and whatever the problem occurred, it occurred because of animal, and therefore that needs to be seen. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Right, sir. One more question, sir, from Ehsan. Those who are on contract basis lost their jobs, and those who are under them lost the guidance, like our contractual lecturers. So, what you would like to
Hmm.
comment on this situation?
No, my comment would be that when we talk about the education sector, contractual appointment will not help to solve any of the problem relating to the field of education. Unless you have committed regular lectures, you cannot expect that quality of education would improve. This is by compulsion we brought the contractual system, because government and many other authorities, they don't have adequate funds to provide, and therefore this is the way out which we try to evolve. But if you ask me my personal opinion, because I have been in this sector since last more than 35 years, this contractual kind of appointment, in the long run, people may get accustomed with that, but I don't think that it is a kind of situation which would be quite conducive to improve the quality of teaching and to improve the education sector of our economy. We have to find out some alternatives, because there has to be commitment from the teachers. And as you rightly said, that guidance and all these kinds of things, it's not a job which can be performed from 10 to 5. I would say that this is 24 hours job, and therefore unless you have commitment, unless you have passion, you cannot perform that kind of duty in the best possible manner. Contractual is possible when certain job is assigned to you, and once the job is over, it's over. This is not the kind of job which we are performing. This is not the assigned task. इतना कर लो तो आपका हो जाएगा. There has to be some kind of permanency, some kind of regularity. Then only teachers would be able to devote full for the development of that particular institute. And that is, I think, a debatable issue. I think there should be a separate session for this, that how far contractual teachers have succeeded in improving the quality of education. To my mind, this is okay for a certain period of time. This is okay for making some kind of adjustment, but this cannot be the normal situation. one cannot have new normal by adopting this kind of mechanism. We are all talking about new normal now in the situation of pandemic, but certain areas, certain sectors, they require devotion, and therefore you cannot expect that contractual appointment would solve some of the problem. It's good for making some adjustment in order to tackle the financial issue, but that won't help to solve the problem of improving quality of higher education in the long run. Okay.
Yeah, sir. Thank you, sir. Actually, many more questions are pouring in, but we don't have. We have limited time, so I'll stop the question answer round over here, and I will hand over mic to Payal ma'am. Over to you, Payal ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable input, sir. Now I would like to call upon Dr. Kohare ma'am to give and propose vote of thanks.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you so much, Al ma'am and Preeti ma'am. It was really wonderful question and answer session. Good afternoon to everyone. It is my deep privilege to propose a vote of thanks for today's webinar on behalf of KLE Society Science and Commerce College, Kalamboli, Navi Mumbai. I sincere thanks to the management of KLE Societies for being really very supportive during this pandemic. My deep sense of gratitude towards our today's honorable guest speaker of this webinar, Dr. Vinayak Deshpande, from RTM Nagpur University, Nagpur, for accepting our invitation and delivering a very useful insight and enlighten all the participants. So, you highlighted various aspects on this COVID-19 pandemic situation, and due to this webinar, now it will be get very easy for all of us to utilize these various opportunities and to overcome many more challenges. Now, I would like to express my gratitude towards our source of inspiration, Dr. Gharshav Giri sir, Honorable Principal Dr. Kelly College Karamboli, for encouraging and guiding us in the process of conducting webinar. I would like to thank Mr. Yogendra Darwe, Commerce Coordinator, for this valuable support for the webinar. I extend wholehearted thanks to the webinar organizing committee, Dr. Pal Sanan, Ms. Preeti Yamdani, Ms. Indraini Kakre, and Dr. Jyoti Nigri for their leadership and initiative to organize this webinar. And technical team, Ms. Neha Pandre and Mr. Prashik Tire, for spontaneous contribution in providing technical support during the webinar. Last but not least, I would like to express heartiest thanks to all dear participants that you have given overwhelming response and to make this webinar grand success. Thank you all. Lastly, I would like to say, before we conclude, I hear announce that all participants are requested to fill feedback form, which is provided to you in YouTube chat box, webinar Telegram group, and all webinar WhatsApp group, and it will be open only for 1 hour. I would like to say, stay home, stay safe, and stay learning. With this note, I declare the end of this session. Thank you.